First, I'd like to clarify just a few things from our first speakers. I do have gray hair. I'm your first speaker with gray hair. I was here for the browning of Toledo, but I'm here for the resurrection of Toledo. I knew of our wonderful pharmacist, Ella Stewart. I did not know John Gunkel. So are we clear on some of those things? However, I have been to John Gunkel's wonderful grave, and if you haven't done that, go to the cemetery and visit the beautiful rock monument that's built in the cemetery for him. I want to reflect just for a minute on the first, about 5 years ago, I gave a presentation. I think it's, my slides don't have anything to do with what I'm saying. They're just background. I gave a presentation. Well, then you have to concentrate the whole time. It's really hard. I gave a presentation on my annual report to Leadership Toledo, and I said, we're really doing some great things. We've got kids that we're changing. We've got 50 kids in Youth Leadership Toledo. We've got about 30 more in our Youth and Philanthropy Encouraging Excellence, our YIPPY program, we call it. And we run for Toledo Community Foundation, teach the kids philanthropy. How do you raise money? How do you give it away? But my goodness, we're touching about 80 lives a year. How do we touch 800? Dream big. In due respect to Dr. Martin Luther King, I gave my I Have a Dream speech. It did not go viral. 250,000 people didn't watch it. But it was something that I really wanted to do. How do we dream big? How do we get more people involved in the good things that are happening with our youth? Well, life gets busy from the time that happens to the end of the school year when our program ends. And finally, the end of May, it was a relaxing Friday. And I'd taken the day off and I was doing what I love to do, and that's garden. Okay, I was mulching. It wasn't all that wonderful. But I was out covered to here with mulch. And my phone rings, and like a fool, I had the phone on me. First of all, bad. Second of all, I answered it on a day off, and it's a number I don't recognize. So I answered it anyway, and the guy says, David, you don't know me, and my name's Sam Beard, don't hang up. Okay, Sam, I won't. Who are you? He said, David, you ever heard of the Jefferson Awards? I said, yes, I sort of know what they are. I mean, you give a nice medallion to somebody who's done good work. And he said, yeah, and it's more than that. It's something that Jackie Kennedy Onassis and Senator Robert Taft, your senator, and I started at an adult beverage party a good number of years ago, like 40 years ago. And it's designed to be the Nobel Prize for service. And we want a youth component, and we're told in Toledo I should talk to you about it. And I said, oh, that sounds awesome. Let's meet. So we did. Make a long story short, he presented this great, marvelous plan on things that were happening in 4 other cities. We were the 5th. And I said, Sam, I don't think those are going to work in Toledo. That's not the way we operate. But we can make this work in Toledo if you leave us alone. So, okay, I want your name. I don't want your help. I'm sorry, gray hair, been at it a long time. But anyway, so we sat down, and Corey Dippold, our youth director and associate executive director, we sat with a couple of our board members at the time, and we said, so what do we do? How do we make this successful? And we said, you know, first of all, do we need an award program in Toledo? When did we come to a point of needing to reward people for doing really good things? If you look in history, okay, maybe there wasn't so much servant leadership and great service in ancient history because there were a lot of slaves. But if you look at the Old Testament, we can look in Proverbs, and Proverbs will tell us that he who blesses and washes others will be washed best. That's Proverbs 15, and that is my version of it. We can go to the New Testament, and Matthew talks to us about the most blessed is the servant. The person most blessed is the servant. We can certainly look at our immigration population as Robert talked about and say, what did our immigrants do when they came to Toledo? They built communities. They helped each other. Stand on the top floor of this building and look at the church steeples. Every church steeple represents a community built by immigrants who helped each other, who kept themselves going. There was no other safety net. Look at the Depression and things we did during the Depression as a country, feeding ourselves. Ted's discussion about John Gunkel. Think about what he was doing. We've done terrific things in this town, and we continue to, but somehow, and I'm not a sociologist, somehow during some period of time post-World War II, we lost that total community spirit, I believe. And I think that's what we need to try and figure out how to bring back. When we get to the point of losing the spirit, and it became much more an enabled society, I think. And the enabling was the concern that I see that is just a significant issue. We expect someone to do it for us, primarily the government. Do we really want the government doing it for us? I don't think so. So when I got the phone call from Sam Beard, and we sat and we talked about how do we make a change. We said, well, let's see what we think would work in Toledo. And we chose 4 high schools to bring a Students in Action program for the Jefferson Awards to. We chose a rural and a suburban, a parochial, and urban school. And we decided to trial it in 4 schools and see if we could do what we think is possible. And that's changing the culture in the school from one of, I have to serve, or I don't give a darn about serving, to I want to serve. To put it on a pedestal that's the same as as the sports pedestal, as the academic pedestal, as the music pedestal, I want to serve. Well, our first year in the 4 schools, we were pretty much blown away. We didn't go in and tell the schools, here's the cookbook, do it this way. We went in and said, what would you as the students want to do to serve? How would you like to express yourself to serve, to make yourself happier being a servant leader in our community? That took off in all 4 of our schools. We were blown away. One of our schools, and a quick story, Lake High School at the time, the horrible tornado just gone through. They were still in the total rebuilding. Those kids banded together when Findlay had flooding, tore off to Findlay to sandbag because they wanted to serve. Just one of many examples of things that were happening. So we thought, if this is working, let's expand our program. Let's bring it to the next. So we did like 15 or 16 schools. Christina White joined our program 2 days a week and to bring it out to the schools. And we are now at a point where we're in 33 schools. And get this, last year, in our program, 101 students were awarded a Jefferson Award pin and recognition at all different kinds of events in the schools. The way the schools want to do it, not cookbook, not shoved down their throats, but the way they want to do it. And our students in this community during the school year contributed 234,000 hours of service to Northwest Ohio. That, my friends, to me, is the beginning. Think about taking it to the next level. If every one of our high school students gave 1 hour a week to service, 1 hour, we could provide 1.1 million hours of community service in Northwest Ohio. Think what we can do with 1.1 million hours. Think of every team that has an assistant coach from a high school kid. Think of every neighborhood that's cleaned up better. Think of churches where any of the work that needs to be done, from stuffing envelopes to cleaning them, is taken care of. Think of schools that are maintained at a higher level than they can be now because of service, because our kids are giving. I want to take it to the next step, and that's my real reimagine. And I take it from an article that was in the July 1st cover story of Time magazine. The article was about service is the cure. And it was actually about the military. And I think the thrust of Joe Klein's article was that military suffering PTSD are being healed by service. By the commitment to give to others, they're finding a source and a value in life that's bringing them out of their PTSD. Take that concept and extrapolate it to our community. What if instead of our gangs into violence, our gangs were into supporting their block, getting their reward out of being the block master who's making positive impacts on it rather than negative? That's the image I have of Toledo. That's where I think these programs can go forward. We know it works. We've proven it works. 234,000 hours last year proves it worked. Yeah, we were a little disappointed we didn't hit 250,000, but you know, we didn't want to fudge the numbers. Next year, we're going to be even more. Almost every high school is in. We'll have everybody in. Why do we focus on high school? We think, we believe, we strongly believe, when the students lead, the adults will follow. As our speakers have said, listen to the graybeards. They've got some history to tell you what we want to do as the 20-somethings. Well, I'm telling you, I hang around with the 15 and 16-year-old somethings. They want to do stuff too. They catch us on fire. And I know we can reimagine a terrific Toledo because of service from our youth becoming contagious to our adults. I'm going to quick end with one of my heroes in life is Dr. Albert Schweitzer. And Dr. Schweitzer, among other great things, really understood service to others. Now, he did it internationally, but his concepts certainly came back to the United States. And Dr. Schweitzer said the only satisfaction and happiness in life comes from serving others. He's right. We need to keep spreading that in Northwest Ohio. Thank you.